Hi, I'm Lindsay, and in this video, I'll be explaining what continuous blending is and how I teach it. So first, I'll give a definition of what continuous blending is, and then I'll share my screen to show exactly what I would do if I was working with a student. And first I want to say I sometimes use the words consecutive and continuous blending interchangeably. I just mean the same thing. So what is continuous blending? It is a reading strategy that we use with students to help them blend the sounds and words together. This is a really strong skill for students who have decoding difficulties, and it is if the words are selected very purposefully, then it can be a really strong jumping off point to help kids, give them a tool that they can use when they're not with an adult or a teacher or a tutor or a practitioner. It's something that once they have been taught how to do this, they can take this skill and practice it on their own. So phonemic awareness, under that umbrella, there's the idea of blending and segmenting. So whereas segmenting is for like more ideal for spelling, that's picking apart the sounds in a word. So like if they have the word am, segmenting would be like ah, Blending is sort of the other side of the coin. So it's holding out those sounds together in order to enable them to read the word so that they don't guess and say something like ma or mom or Anne. We definitely don't want kids guessing. And so this consecutive or continuous blending skill is going to be really, really valuable for them. So I'll put it into slideshow mode to show you how I do this with a student. If I was sitting face to face with a student, either in person or virtually on Zoom, I would tell them, okay, I'm going to model this for you and I'm going to do something called sing it out. I'm going to sing out the sounds in this word. So I have my eyes glued to that first letter that's in red, and I'm going to hold out that sound until I see the next letter turn red. Then I'll make the sound of that letter. Then once I see the word turn black again, I'll say it naturally and normally. So watch me. Here's how to do it. Am. And then I might go back and I might ask the student to do that with me. So we're both doing it together this time. So I would have them do it with me and I would say, okay, here we go. Am. And then we'd move on, and I might do this one with them again, or I might back off and just let them do it so that I can hear how they're doing it on their own. And with the am and the an in particular, those the N at the end kind of causes us to have this like nasal sound with the vowel A. So it really is kind of like ah, it's ah. It's an interesting sound. I might have to have that conversation with a student that the sound is just a little bit different when we blend it together. But most of the time, students just kind of pick up on that. And moving on, I would have them repeat the routine maybe like 10 or 20 more times, depending on the age and stamina of the child. I would just kind of watch for their nonverbal cues and see if how many they're able to handle in a session, but usually 10 to 20 is my target. And then we repeat the patterns. So I'll listen to them go at, ax. And if a student tries to go like this, X, then I might tell them, I might say, oh, okay, but I want you to hold out that sound until you see the next letter turn red, right? And so I might have to make the student hold out the sound a really long time to really drill the point that I want them to hold that sound before they move on to the next one. And the reason for that is because I want them to make sure that they're not only looking at the letter that's in front of them, but they're practicing for accuracy. So we're not trying to rush through these words as quickly as possible. This isn't a fluency goal. This isn't fluency practice. This is all about accuracy. And I want them to go slow. And I'll tell a student that. I'll tell them, I want you to go slow. We go slow before we go fast, right? So I might make them hold it out a ridiculously long time, like before I highlight the next letter, and it might be ridiculous, and hopefully they'll laugh, but that's kind of the point, is to get them to do that. And then I won't do that very often. Once they get it and they know that they're not allowed to make the next sound until they hold this one out for a good long time, then I'll let them go at a more normal pace. And then sometimes what students will do is they will not hold out that sound, right? So they'll do it, they'll say eh, but then they'll stop their voice before I have highlighted the next color. And I'll tell them that's okay, but we really want to try to sing it out. So can you hold out that sound and keep holding out that sound in your voice until you see the next letter turn, and you're going to immediately make that next sound as soon as you see this letter. So without stopping your voice, right? So if they go it, right, that's not ideal. That's not what we're looking for. I really want them to go if and blend, like smush those sounds all into like one word, to like one continuous string of sounds. And it takes a little bit of getting used to. Sometimes if the student isn't used to this, they might need a little bit more coaching, modeling from me at first, but usually they're pretty good and they get the hang of it. And then once we move on, once we progress from these 2-letter words where the vowel is at the front, then I'll have students progress to 3-sound words with 3 sounds. And the words in this deck were selected quite carefully and purposefully to allow the student to hold out the first sound as long as they have breath, as long as they can push air out of their lungs, right? So like we can hold that sound for quite a long time. Whereas like if I had given them the word, I don't know, maybe bed or did, we call those the first sounds stop sounds. So b is a stop sound because like once you make the sound b, you're done. You can't really hold out that sound without saying ba, and we don't want them to do that. We don't want them to add a vowel sound to the initial sound. And then once they progress from 3 sounds, then I'll have them move on to consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant words where there's a consonant blend before the vowel. And in this case, it would be a little bit different. So at this point, hopefully they're pretty good at jumping from the first sound to the next sound continuously. So I'll have them go blab, and then say blab. And again, this second letter was chosen, they're selected very carefully to enable them to hold that sound out for a really long time. So we can hold the l and sounds out, right? We can hold those sounds out for a good long time. And I want the student to hold it out for a good long time before they make the change and pronounce the vowel sound. And then after they do words with consonant blends at the beginning, then I'll have them practice consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant words where the consonant blend is after the vowel or at the end of the word. And in this case, they would hold out the vowel. They would jump from the first sound to the vowel sound. So it would sound like fact, right? And then they have to kind of smush those 2 sounds together. If they are ready for it, then I'll show them the hardest skill with the short vowel sound. So that would be a word like bland, right, where they have 2 consonants before the vowel and 2 consonants after the vowel. So just to show you what it would look like, it would sound like bland, bland. And if I need to go slower with the student and really make them hold out the sounds longer, then I will. I'll have them hold it out a good long time. And then just to show you, this is a word where there are 3 consonant sounds before the vowel and then 2 consonant sounds after. And there you have it. That's consecutive or continuous blending.